Heather. I was just over at your side of the camera talking to you in your How to Harp podcast. Thank you
Yeah,
for having me.
pleasure.
Now, you asked me about community in your
Hmm.
podcast. So if the audience is interested in learning, go find How to Harp podcast and check out
Definitely.
what I said about what community meant to me. Now, I
Hmm.
want to ask you the same question. What does community mean for you? Because you have built your how to have platform around community. So I want to get your insight into how you get to the point where you decide I want to develop a learning community for
Yeah,
harpists.
sure. Sure. So, what community means to me is support, friendship, learning. I think the community itself brings learning opportunities. And probably one of the most important things about learning in community is challenging.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and I think it's a part of community that people don't often maybe discuss or share, but in actual fact, having a community, it's it challenges you often in different ways, and that pushes you and encourages you to learn more and explore deeper. Um, so those are kind of the things that community means to me. And alongside that, they are the things that I believe and research tells us makes community important for
mhm.
learning.
Okay, we're gonna get into that, but I want to just go back to that point about challenge.
Hmm.
I think that is an aspect that a lot of time get overlooked
Mm.
by people, and maybe instead of calling it a challenge, I like to call it as a buddy system
Hmm.
to help push you forward,
Hmm.
right? So thank you for bringing that point up.
Hmm.
So you did a master's study on
I sure did.
community and learning, which I
Hmm.
think, again, tying back to your platform at How to Harp, it's such a big component. So tell
Hmm.
us about community and learning in a group setting, because a lot of us, when we think about taking music lesson, we by default go to a one-on-one environment,
Hmm.
right? Even for
Hmm.
myself, I've talked about
Hmm.
that. So why community learning?
So first of all, I did do a master's, you're right. My master's was actually in the title of my final master's was in heutagogic learning for online learners, which basically is a study of self-determined learning. Because what a lot of the adult learners out there doing without really realizing it as they are being self-determined learners.
Mhm.
And that is a very difficult thing to do. It's so difficult. It means that you are you're pushing yourself, you're often choosing your own goals, you're often being accountable for yourself, and you are self-determined. So it's in the title, right? That's what heutagogic learning means, right? You're a self-determined learner. But a big part of what came up in that study was the importance of community. And so like a whole chapter of my final thesis was on community because what the findings showed us, and we can go into we can talk about the actual, or maybe I could send you a biography or something like that if people are interested in going into the actual studies. But what the findings tell us is that one of the kind of consensus in wider literature is that as we've had this move to online learning, not just in harping, but in general, we've had a move to online learning and also the move to incorporating technology into in-person learning. But as we've had this move, um, distance education courses and things like this, they suffer from, research has showed that they suffer from a deficiency in a feeling of camaraderie, in a feeling of support, in a feeling of moving towards something together, that togetherness, that we have in traditional in-person learning, which is our kind of what we would consider to be a traditional mode of learning. And that not absinthe, that's a drink, the absence of that sense of community, it's led to is a number of students being unable to effectively compete or work towards or achieve their goals when they're working on distance learning platforms, using distance learning or using online learning, if you prefer that term. Um, and student achievement has therefore been impacted.
Mm.
Um, and so, because that was what I was finding in the research, I said to myself, well, I don't want people to sign up to my online learning platform and find that they are not able to achieve their goals and find that they are struggling um, to, you know, not relate to, but to engage, to fully engage with their own learning, because they're missing that community element. And so that's where, even though community was always a part of How to Harp, in recent months, after having completed my thesis, we've made it a much bigger part and we've really kind of put a lot of time, effort, and resources into really developing the community aspect of our online learning platform because we are here to try and help people get the results they want. And the community learning aspect, through research, we know is something that was lacking. And therefore, if we can bring back that community learning and recreate it in a similar way that people are getting it in in-person classes, then hopefully we're plugging that gap and we're giving everybody that platform that they need, that camaraderie that they need, and that understanding that they need to really understand and achieve their goals.
So much going on in my head right now, reflecting on what I talked to you about when I was in your podcast. I mentioned that in a one-on-one setting, I feel like I'm missing something.
Hmm.
And now that I have hear what you said, I kind of think about, you know what, like even at university settings, you're still in a big group. Like you said, there's that feeling of the whole class moving towards something
Absolutely.
together.
Hmm.
And when I reflect on now, some of the things that really helped me in how to harp is that sense of moving towards something together. And I always put this analogy forward to people when I describe my how to harp experience. It's like going to a school and you walk into the library and you find a bunch of classmates that are taking the same class
Yeah,
with you. And that feeling really had an impact on me as an adult learner. So thank you for putting word to my thoughts.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to help.
Yeah, so you and community has always been a staple in your
Yeah.
online learning, like you said, and something that you have introduced recently really helped take that to the next level. And I remember you asking your pod leaders for their input and say, how are we going to make the most of it? And it was a really exciting project for us to kind of work through together, if you will, as a group. Tell us about what you have now put in place for How to Harp members and also actually bigger audience outside of How to Harp and what is happening in that space.
Sure, of course. So there's a couple of things that we did recently to try and develop our online learning platform and the community within that. But I just want to, before I talk about those specific things, I just want to pick up on something that you said there. And that was that we involved the pod leaders, yeah, we involved the volunteers. And I think it's really important to note that um, How to Harp is creating a community for learners, but we are a community creating that community. And without that, without the input from yourself, the other pod leaders who are amazing, the volunteers, the staff, sounds like there's lots of them. There's not. There's like 9 people in total. But without that community, it's very difficult for us to then create the community in the online learning platform. So that's important to get that feedback from you guys to help us create something really great. But yes, recently there's a few things that we've done. The first thing is that we have seriously developed our actual kind of community space, which essentially is an online forum. It's an online space for people to engage, and we've always had this from the very start of How to Harp, but the setup that we had has been like, I think it's fair to say it's been clunky. And the usability of what we were providing really wasn't giving our students a great experience. It was difficult to find topics. They maybe didn't know who they were engaging with. They couldn't see the people that they were talking to. Um, and every time you clicked into a different kind of area, it would open a completely new screen. So it almost felt like you were going somewhere else. So we've created a new community, or if you like to think about it as a forum space, which essentially is kind of like as close to Facebook as you can get without being on Facebook. Because let's be frank, everyone hates social media right now, including myself.
And I don't need the ads, random ads that pop up on my screen, right?
Exactly. We don't need the ads, we don't need the spamming, we don't need the AI bots that seem to be answering people's questions without like, what do they even mean? So we want to get away from all of that. And so our new How to Harp community circle is a community that is open to, yes, the members of How to Harp, but also just all harpists. And something I want to really specifically mention as well is it's open to professional harpists too. Now, what we wanted to create was a space where learners could engage with each other, find that camaraderie, that support, and that challenge, um, but also engage with professional harp learners, professional harp players, and look at their resources that they have to offer without being bombarded with ads from them all. So we have one space, one area where the artists can share what they're offering. And if you're looking for a course or you're looking for a new CD, then you can click into that space. Or the little space will obviously get a little number on it if someone posts something new in there. So if you want to look at that, then you can click in and look at that. But if you don't want to and you're not interested in the ads, then you can leave it and you don't have to look at that. And then similarly, for those who are in the How to Harp membership, we have different kind of areas of focus groups that again, you're only going to click into if you're interested. So for example, the Harpy Arranging Club, where people get together and arrange music together and share, and they're progressing together in their learning of arranging music and sharing the pieces they're arranging. If you're interested in that, then you can click on that space and get access to that space. But if you're not interested in that, then you don't have to look at it and it won't show up on your main feed. And so it's creating a community where you can get access to the stuff that you want to have access to, but leave the rest. So you don't get that kind of, I want to say fogginess, because just everything is being thrown at you and it's all coming into your main feed.
Mm-hmm.
Plus you can DM people, you can hide your DMs if you don't want people to be able to contact you one-on-one, then you can switch that off. So there's much more adaptability for yourself as to how you
Very
want to
self-determined
engage.
there.
Very good. I love that. It's a Hue to God community platform.
There you go.
So yeah, so that's the first thing that we've done is this, and the main thing that we've done recently. And yeah, like I say, it's open to people who are in How to Harp, but also those who are non-How to Harp members. And if you're not a How to Harp member, we have monthly challenges. Like we just ran a warm-up challenge where you were encouraged to include a different thing in your warm-up each week through the month. And we also have artists who are running pop-up events. We've had workshops and concerts, and these pop-up events are open to anyone who's in the general community, not just How to Harp members. To join the general community, it costs £1.
It's a very reasonable price, and for good reason too. I do want to point that out because
Yes,
we have a very dedicated helper in your team that help us weed out spammers and whatnot in Facebook. And we
absolutely,
don't want spammers. We want serious harpists. We want just good harpy
absolutely,
conversations. So I think that
exactly.
$1 fee helps deter the random AI bots that want to just come in and pretend to be a person. So
And that's exactly what it's about. It's literally, no, I can assure you that taking £1 off everyone who joins the community makes us absolutely nothing. One stripe's taken its fee and all the rest of it. But exactly right. It stops any bots joining. It stops people joining just because they want to advertise a t-shirt or whatever or other stuff they want to put in there. And it just helps keep us as safe as possible. And I always want to say that, like when we're online, all we can do as providers is say we're trying to keep you as safe as we possibly can. And that £1 fee helps us do that.
Mhm. And the pop-up events are really fun too, because like you
Yeah,
said, we can explore what offerings people have, but at our own determination. We're not forced to join
exactly.
it. So it's really great to
Exactly.
see that there are some really lovely guests that has come by and do pop-up event. You have one from Ailey Robertson and Adriano Santinedo recently, right?
Yeah.
So those are
They were
really
so
cool.
fun, weren't they? And the great thing about them as well is, again, like I say, the functionality of the site that we've set up, we really wanted, we don't want people spammed with lots of emails that they don't want, etc., etc. So if you're interested in an event, the only way you'll get reminder emails is if you RSVP to that event. If you
Mhm.
don't RSVP, you won't be sent a reminder email. So one, it makes sure that you're not getting spammed with tons of stuff you're not interested. But two, it actually helps you as a learner take accountability because you go in and you look at what's available and you say, no, actually, I do want to attend that event. And as a learner taking that step, just that little step of saying, yeah, I'm going to RSVP, when the email comes in, you're actually more likely to then attend the event because you've taken the step. You said, yeah, something I want to do, I'm going to commit to it. Um, and all these little things just help us in our learning journey. Next month we've got Karen Marshalsea. She's launching a new CD. And if there's any professional harpists out there listening, we are open. Like we want to help you have a platform in how to harp. We want to help you promote. Our members want to engage with what you have to offer, and we want to give you the opportunity to offer that to people. So please get in touch if you'd like to do a pop-up event.
Yeah, and I think that's such a generous thing for you to offer because you're obviously running How to Harp as well, which you have an interest in. But I really appreciate you creating that space for us to engage with other material. Again, we talk about that in my podcast with you, how important it is to diversify sort of our
Absolutely.
learning and whatnot. So that's really key. And I think the community is just one slice of what you would experience as a full-fledged How to Harp member. Like we
Yeah,
definitely there's a lot of activities in there, but there's a lot of live events and whatnot that gives us even more opportunity to interact with
absolutely.
each other. And I think again, reflecting back on sort of my learning journey, I think that community aspect has really enriched who I am right now as a harp learner, and I encourage everyone to check it out. And I'm glad that we have someone like you who is a great harp teacher, but also understands sort of that psychology and the science behind creating a rich learning environment for adult and kind of bring both worlds together. So we're very lucky, I think.
Well, I'm really delighted that I can. I'm a nerd. What can I say? I'm nerdy. I like to keep learning the harp, but I like to keep learning about teaching. It's my thing. I love it. We spoke about the masters and 3 years. It was
Mhm.
intense. But yeah, it really highlights how important these things are. And like you say, we've got other learning, we've got other live things that we offer, and level-based things where you are led together because it's that
Mm.
camaraderie which really helps lead you through. So yeah, that's why it's so important.
So if we want to sign up for the membership, it's at howtohop.com. And if we want to
Yes.
sign up for the community, where is
Yes.
the best place to get to the
Yes.
community?
So you can also sign up to the community from howtoharp.com. There's a little link there. So that's the best place to sign up. Or if you're on our newsletter, we send a newsletter weekly, which has got our YouTube links and just a tip and a little joke, a bit of harp trivia and, a little bit of this. And there's a link at the bottom of that as well to sign up to the community if you're interested in that. Yeah.
I'm going to put some link in the video description so our audience can check that out. Thank you very much, Heather, for sharing with us your thoughts on community and how you're bringing that into what you're doing.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.